The blood on the envelope wasn't dry yet. I stood in my father's study, holding a letter with 10 names crossed out in red ink. Mine was number 11. Outside, a Navy SEAL was knocking on my door at midnight, and he wasn't here to pay respects. My father had been dead for 3 days, and somehow, I already knew his fortune was built on something worse than greed. Hit like, subscribe for more betrayal stories, and comment your city or country. My name is Violet Ashford, and 3 days ago, I inherited everything. The estate, the companies, the investments, the reputation. All of it landed on my shoulders the moment my father's heart stopped beating in his sleep. They said it was peaceful. Natural causes. He was 68, after all. But nothing about the last 72 hours felt natural. The funeral was yesterday. Hundreds of people showed up. Politicians, business partners, society friends who kissed my cheek and told me how proud he'd be. I smiled. I thanked them. I played the role of the grieving daughter perfectly. But inside, I felt nothing. My father and I weren't close. He raised me with nannies and boarding schools. Our conversations were about stock portfolios and public image, never about feelings or truth. When he died, I cried because I thought I should, not because I felt it. Tonight, I was alone in his study for the first time. The lawyers told me to go through his personal files, sign some documents, handle the transition. Standard stuff for someone who just inherited a $100 million empire. I was looking through his desk when I found the hidden drawer. It wasn't obvious. Just a small gap under the main drawer that clicked open when I pressed it the right way. Inside was a single envelope. Thick, expensive paper. No address. Just my name written in my father's handwriting. I opened it. Inside was a piece of paper with 11 names typed in a neat list. 10 of them had red X marks through them. The last name on the list was mine. My hands started shaking. I didn't recognize most of the names, but I recognized 3. Richard Pemberton, Margaret Shun, Victor Dalton. All wealthy. All dead. I remembered seeing their obituaries over the past 2 years. Car accident. Home invasion. Boating incident. I thought they were just tragic coincidences. But seeing them lined up like this, crossed out like completed tasks, made my stomach turn. That's when I heard the knock. It was midnight. No one should be at the estate. Security didn't call. The staff had gone home hours ago. I walked to the front door, my heart pounding. Through the glass panel, I saw a man standing on the porch. Tall, broad shoulders, military posture. He was wearing jeans and a dark jacket, but something about the way he stood screamed discipline. I cracked the door open, keeping the chain locked. "Can I help you?" He looked at me with sharp green eyes that seemed to see straight through me. "Violet Ashford? Who's asking?" "My name is Tristan Cole. I'm with Naval Special Warfare. I need to talk to you about your father." My throat went dry. "My father's dead." "I know. That's why I'm here." I stared at him. Every instinct told me to slam the door and call security. But something in his voice made me hesitate. He wasn't threatening. He was warning me. "It's not safe to talk out here," he said, glancing over his shoulder. "Please. 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking." Against my better judgment, I unlocked the chain and let him inside. He stepped into the foyer, his eyes scanning the space like he was checking for threats. I crossed my arms, trying to look more confident than I felt. "What do you want?" He reached into his jacket, and I flinched. But he just pulled out a folder and handed it to me. "Open it." I did. Inside were photographs. Crime scene photos. Families. Rich families. Dead in their homes. Some looked like accidents. Others were clearly murders. Men, women, children. I felt sick. 10 families, Tristan said quietly. All killed within the last 18 months. All of them connected to a single event 20 years ago. Your father was part of that event. I looked up at him. What event? A cover-up. A military operation overseas that went wrong. Civilians died. Soldiers tried to report it. Your father and 10 other wealthy elites paid to bury the story. They destroyed evidence, bribed officials, and when that wasn't enough, they destroyed the soldiers who wouldn't stay quiet. My hands were trembling. That's insane. My father was a businessman, not some He funded black ops through shell companies. So did the other 10. They had power, money, and connections, and they used all of it to make sure the truth never came out. I shook my head. Why are you telling me this? Tristan's expression darkened. Because someone's been killing everyone involved. Methodically, one by one. He's already taken out 10 families. He paused. You're number 11. The room tilted. I grabbed the edge of the table to steady myself. You're saying someone's coming to kill me because of something my father did 20 years ago? Yes. Then why are you here? Why warn me? He hesitated. For the first time, something flickered across his face. Doubt. Pain. Something personal. Because I've been tracking this killer for 8 months. And I think... He stopped. I think there's more to this than revenge. I think he wants you to know the truth before he decides what to do with you. Decides what to do with me. My voice cracked. You're talking about me like I'm already dead. You're not. Not yet. But you will be if you don't let me help you. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw him out. But I looked down at the envelope still clutched in my hand. The list. The red X marks. 10 names crossed out. Mine still untouched. I looked back at Tristan. Who is he? The killer. Tristan's jaw tightened. A ghost. Former Delta Force. The military declared him dead 3 years ago, but he's very much alive. And he's the best operator I've ever seen. What's his name? That's the problem, Tristan said. I don't know. His records were erased. But I know why he's doing this. Your father and the others didn't just destroy his career. They destroyed his family. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. I sank into a chair, my mind racing. My entire life had been built on money I thought was clean. A legacy I thought was earned. And now this stranger was telling me it was all blood money. Built on lies. Built on graves. What do? I whispered. Tristan looked at me for a long moment. Then he pulled out his phone and showed me a photo. It was surveillance footage from a coffee shop. A man sitting alone, face partially hidden by a hood. But you could see his eyes. Cold. Empty. Focused. He's already watching you, Tristan said. He's been in this city for 3 days. The same time your father died. My blood ran cold. You think he killed my father? I don't know. Maybe. Or maybe your father's death just started the countdown. I stood up, panic rising. So what now? You protect me? I hire security? I run. Running won't help. He'll find you. He always does. Tristan stepped closer. But if you work with me, if you help me understand what your father was really involved in, maybe we can stop him before he gets to you. I looked into his eyes. I didn't know if I could trust him. I didn't know if I could trust anyone. But I knew one thing. I was number 11 on a list. And 10 people before me were already dead. I didn't sleep that night. Tristan stayed. Not in the house, but outside in his car, watching. He said it was for my protection. I wasn't sure if that made me feel safer or more terrified. I sat in my father's study until dawn, going through every file, every drawer, every hidden corner I could find. The list haunted me. Those 11 names. 10 crossed out in red. I needed answers. By sunrise, I'd found 3 more envelopes hidden in different places. Behind books. Under the carpet. Inside a fake electrical outlet. My father had been paranoid. And now I understood why. The first envelope contained bank statements. Offshore accounts. Millions of dollars moving between shell companies with names I didn't recognize. The transactions went back 23 years. The second envelope had newspaper clippings. All from 2003. Small articles buried in back pages. Military investigation closed. Training accident claims 5 lives. Defense contractor wins appeal. Nothing that screamed scandal. But together, they painted a picture. The third envelope made my hands shake. It was full of photographs. Not crime scenes. These were older. Faded. A group of men in suits standing with military officers. I recognized my father immediately. Younger, smiling, shaking hands with a general. But it was the handwritten note paper-clipped to the photo that stopped my heart. If you're reading this, I'm already gone. What we did was necessary. They would have destroyed us. Destroyed everything we built. I'm sorry you have to carry this. But someone has to know the truth. The money in account number 4721 is yours. Use it to disappear if you need to. Trust no one. Dad, I stared at those words. What we did was necessary. What did they do? A knock on the study door made me jump. I shoved everything into the desk drawer. Miss Ashford. It was Marie, our housekeeper. That man is still outside. Should I call the police? No, I said quickly. He's a friend. It's fine. She looked uncertain, but nodded and left. I grabbed my phone and texted Tristan. Come inside. I found something. 2 minutes later, he was standing in the study. I spread everything across the desk. The statements, the clippings, the photos, the note. He studied each piece carefully, his expression unreadable. Your father kept records, he said finally. That's good. It means he knew this might come back to him. What exactly did they do? I asked. You said a cover-up, but what happened? Tristan picked up one of the newspaper clippings. In 2002, a private military contractor was hired to train local forces in a conflict zone overseas. It was supposed to be routine, but something went wrong. There was an incident. Civilians were killed. Women, children. My stomach turned. The soldiers on the ground tried to report it, he continued. They filed complaints, requested an investigation. But the contractor had powerful backers. People like your father who had invested millions into the company. If the truth came out, they'd lose everything. Lawsuits, criminal charges, reputation destroyed. So they buried it, I whispered. They did more than bury it. They framed the soldiers, made it look like they were the ones who violated protocol. 3 of them were dishonorably discharged. 2 ended up in military prison. And 1. He paused. 1 disappeared. The killer. Tristan nodded. I believe so. His name was erased from official records, but I found fragments. Enough to know he had a family. A wife. 2 kids. After he was discharged, he tried to rebuild his life. But your father's people couldn't risk him talking. They made sure he lost everything. How? His wife was killed in a car accident that wasn't an accident. His kids were taken by child services on false abuse charges. He never saw them again. 6 months later, they died in a foster home fire. I felt like I was going to be sick. He lost everything because he tried to tell the truth, Tristan said quietly. And now he's making sure everyone responsible pays the same price. I looked down at the list again. 11 names. 10 families already destroyed. Why me? I asked. I wasn't even born when this happened. I had nothing to do with it. You're his legacy, his heir. Everything he built with blood money goes to you. Tristan's voice was hard. In his mind, you're just as guilty. That's insane. Maybe. But grief and rage don't follow logic. I stood up, pacing. So what's the plan? We wait for him to show up and kill me? We can't even find him. We don't have to find him, Tristan said. He'll come to you. But first, he'll want you to understand. He'll want you to feel what he felt. The betrayal. The loss. The truth. How do you know that? Because of this. He pulled out his phone and showed me an email. It was sent to a secure military address 2 days ago. The subject line was blank. The message had only 1 sentence. She's last because she deserves to know why. My blood ran cold. He's talking about me. Yes. How did you get this? Tristan hesitated. I've been monitoring certain networks, looking for patterns. This came through a dark web server an hour after your father died. I looked at him closely. Really looked at him. Who are you, Tristan? Why do you care so much about this? His jaw tightened. Because I was part of the unit that investigated the original incident. I was just a junior officer back then, but I saw what happened. I saw how the system protected the guilty and destroyed the innocent. I've been trying to find the truth ever since. And now I'm trying to stop more people from dying. I wanted to believe him, but something in his eyes told me there was more he wasn't saying. Before I could press him, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Check your father's safe. Combination is your birthday. You'll want to see what's inside before you decide who to trust. I showed Tristan. His face went dark. He's already inside your security system, he said. We need to move. Now. Wait. I walked to the painting behind my father's desk and removed it. There was a safe built into the wall. I'd never opened it before. I entered my birthday. 6 numbers. The safe clicked open. Inside was a single USB drive and a handwritten letter addressed to me. I grabbed both and turned to Tristan. We're not running until I know what's on this. His eyes met mine, and for the first time, I saw something that scared me more than the killer. Tristan looked afraid. I plugged the USB drive into my father's computer with shaking hands. Tristan stood behind me, silent and tense. The drive had one folder. Inside were video files, audio recordings, and scanned documents. Dozens of them, all dated between 2002 and 2005. I clicked on the first video file. My father's face appeared on the screen. He looked younger, maybe in his early 40s. He was sitting in what looked like a private office, speaking directly to the camera. August 15, 2003. This is a record for personal security purposes only. His voice was calm, businesslike, nothing like the warmth he used in public. The situation overseas has been contained. The military investigation concluded that the incident was the result of individual soldier misconduct, not contractor negligence. All liability has been transferred. The investors are protected. He paused, looking down at something off camera. 3 soldiers have been discharged. 2 are facing court-martial. The remaining one, Staff Sergeant Julian Cross, has been classified as a security risk. Measures are being taken to ensure his silence. My breath caught. Julian Cross. That had to be the killer. The families of the deceased have been compensated through intermediary channels. No direct connection to our consortium. Legal counsel confirms we're insulated. The video ended. I felt numb. Tristan's voice was quiet behind me. Keep going. I opened the next file. Another video. Different date. Same cold tone. November 3rd, 2003. Julian Cross continues to be a problem. He's contacted journalists, filed appeals, attempted to reach Congress. Standard containment is insufficient. My father looked directly at the camera. Victor Dalton has proposed a permanent solution. Cross's family will be leverage. His wife, Emma Cross, and 2 children, ages 6 and 4. If he continues to push, they'll be used to convince him to stop. I covered my mouth. Tears burned my eyes. The next video was dated 3 months later. February 19, 2004. The Cross situation has been resolved. Emma Cross died in a single vehicle accident. Brake failure. Local police ruled it accidental. The children have been placed in state custody under allegations of abuse filed by an anonymous source. Cross has been declared mentally unstable. He's no longer a credible threat. My father's expression didn't change. He could have been discussing stock prices. All 11 investors agree this was necessary. We've each contributed to a security fund to ensure no future risks emerge. Total amount, $42 million. This matter is now closed. The video ended. I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. There's more, Tristan said softly. I clicked on an audio file. It was a phone conversation. My father and another man. Richard, we need to discuss the Cross children. What about them? They're in foster care. If they grow up and start asking questions, they won't. I've made arrangements. The facility they're in has issues. Electrical problems. It's only a matter of time. A long pause. You're sure? I'm sure. By next month, this will be completely behind us. The recording ended. I stood up so fast the chair fell backward. I ran to the bathroom and threw up. When I came back, Tristan was reading the letter that had been in the safe. He handed it to me without a word. It was my father's handwriting, addressed to me, dated 1 week before he died. Violet, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I need you to understand something. What we did wasn't evil. It was survival. Julian Cross and those other soldiers were going to destroy everything. Billions of dollars. Thousands of jobs. The reputations of 11 families who built empires from nothing. We had to protect that. Sometimes you have to make hard choices. I did what I had to do. I don't regret it. But I know there are consequences. If Cross survived, if he comes for you, use the money in the offshore account. Disappear. Start over. Don't try to fight him. You can't win. I'm sorry I'm leaving you with this burden. But you're in Ashford. You're strong enough to carry it. Dad. I crumpled the letter in my fist. Strong enough to carry it. I whispered. He murdered a woman. Let 2 children die. And he wants me to just run away with his blood money. Tristan's face was hard. Now you understand what Julian Cross lost. His entire family. Because he tried to do the right thing. I looked at him. You knew all of this already, didn't you? He didn't deny it. I suspected, but I needed proof. Your father's confession changes everything. Changes it how? Because now we can expose them. All 11 families. Make the truth public. Give Cross the justice he's been hunting for. I shook my head. He's already killed 10 families. He's not looking for justice anymore. He's looking for revenge. Maybe, but he hasn't killed you yet. That means something. It means he's saving me for last. Tristan stepped closer. Or it means he wants you to make a choice. Be complicit like your father, or be different. I looked at the computer screen. At my father's face frozen in that final video. Cold. Calculating. Proud of what he'd done. I thought about Emma Cross. About her 2 children. About Julian Cross losing everything while my father got richer. My whole life was built on their graves. What choice? I asked quietly. Help me find him. Talk to him. Give him what your father never did. What's that? An apology. The truth. And maybe, if he'll take it, a chance to make this right without more blood. I laughed bitterly. You think a man who's killed 10 families is going to accept an apology? I think he's kept you alive for a reason. And I think we need to find out what that reason is before he changes his mind. I looked down at the USB drive. All the evidence. Everything my father tried to hide. Then I looked at the letter. His final words to me. Run. Hide. Survive. I thought about who I wanted to be. And I made my choice. Okay, I said. Let's find Julian Cross. Tristan nodded. Then we start tonight. Because I think I know where he is. My heart stopped. Where? Here. In this house. He's been watching you since your father died. And I think he's about to make his move. The lights went out. The darkness was complete. No street lights through the windows. No backup generator kicking in. Just pure black silence. Tristan's hand grabbed my arm. Don't move. Don't make a sound. My heart hammered so loud I was sure everyone could hear it. We stood frozen in my father's study. I could hear Tristan's breathing, controlled and steady, while mine came in short panicked gasps. Then I heard it. Footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. Coming from the hallway outside. Someone was inside the house. Tristan pulled me down behind the desk. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a gun. The metal gleamed faintly in the darkness. The footsteps stopped right outside the study door. A voice came through. Deep. Calm. Almost gentle. Violet Ashford. I'm not here to hurt you. Not yet. I just want to talk. I pressed my hand over my mouth to keep from making a sound. I know you found your father's files. I know you watched the videos. So now you understand what kind of man he was. Tristan aimed his gun at the door, his body tense like a coiled spring. The voice continued. I've been watching you for 3 days. Waiting to see what you'd do. If you'd run. If you'd call the police. If you'd be just like him. A pause. But you didn't run. You stayed. You looked for the truth. That tells me something. The door handle turned slowly. It tells me maybe you're different. The door opened. A figure stood in the doorway, backlit by the faint moonlight from the hallway window. Tall. Broad shoulders. He was wearing dark clothes, and his face was hidden in shadow. Tristan stood up, gun raised. Don't move. The man didn't flinch. Navy SEAL Tristan Cole. I wondered when you'd show up. How do you know my name? I know everything about everyone connected to this, including you. The man's voice had an edge now. Your father was Captain Robert Cole. He was part of the investigation unit in 2003. He tried to help me. They transferred him to a desk job in Alaska to shut him up. Tristan's gun hand trembled slightly. You've done your research. I've had 20 years to do research. The man stepped into the room. I could see him better now. Late 40s. Hard face. Eyes that looked like they'd seen too much. Put the gun down, Cole. If I wanted you dead, you'd already be dead. Tristan didn't lower the weapon. Julian Cross. The man smiled. It was a cold, broken smile. That name doesn't exist anymore. The military erased it. But yes, that's who I used to be. I found my voice. You killed those families. The children. Julian's eyes locked onto mine. Even in the darkness, I felt the weight of his stare. Yes, I did. Why? My voice cracked. What did the kids do to you? Nothing. His voice was flat. Just like my kids did nothing to your father. But he killed them anyway. They were innocent. So were mine. His voice exploded, raw and full of pain. Then he stopped, took a breath. When he spoke again, it was quieter. My daughter was 6. My son was 4. They burned to death in a foster home because your father paid someone to make it look like an accident. Do you know what that feels like? To bury your children and know it was murder, but have no way to prove it. Tears streamed down my face. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't bring them back. He took another step forward. For 20 years, I've been a ghost. I learned how to disappear, how to hunt, how to kill, and I made a promise to my wife and kids. Everyone responsible would pay the same price. Their families would feel what I felt. That's not justice, Tristan said. That's just more murder. You think I care about justice? Julian laughed bitterly. Justice died when the system protected rich men and destroyed soldiers. I'm not looking for justice, Cole. I'm looking for balance. And what about me? I asked. What did I do to deserve this? Julian tilted his head, studying me. That's what I've been trying to figure out. You weren't born when this happened. You didn't know, but you inherited everything built on my family's graves. The money, the house, the name. What do I do with that? You let her go, Tristan said firmly. She's not her father. No, but she benefits from what he did. Julian pulled something from his pocket. A photograph. He tossed it onto the desk. I picked it up. Even in the dim light, I could see it. A family photo. A younger Julian in uniform, smiling. A beautiful woman beside him. 2 small children laughing. That was taken 3 months before everything was destroyed, he said quietly. That's what your father took from me. Not just their lives. Their future. Their dreams. Everything. I stared at the photo. The little girl had pigtails. The boy was missing his front teeth. I was going to kill you, Julian said. That was always the plan. Save you for last. Make it slow. Make you understand. But then I watched you these past 3 days. I saw you crying at your father's funeral even though you didn't mean it. I saw you searching for answers. I saw you throw up when you found out the truth. He stepped closer. Tristan moved between us, gun still raised. You're not him, Julian said. I can see that now. You're a victim too. Just a different kind. So what now? I whispered. Julian looked at me for a long moment. Now you make a choice. You can keep your father's legacy. Take the money, live the life, pretend none of this happened. Or what? Or you help me finish this. Tristan's voice was sharp. She's not helping you kill anyone. I'm not talking about killing. Julian's eyes never left mine. There's one person left on that list besides Violet. Someone who orchestrated everything. The mastermind behind the cover-up. Your father and the others were just investors. But this person made it all happen. My blood went cold. Who? Senator Margaret Holloway. She was the Defense Department liaison in 2003. She brokered the deals, arranged the payoffs, buried the evidence. She's untouchable now. Powerful. Protected. I'd heard that name. She was running for president. What do you want me to do? I asked. Your father kept records. Evidence. I need all of it. Everything on that USB drive and anything else hidden in this house. With that, I can expose her. Destroy her career. Make sure the world knows what she did. And then what? You disappear? Julian smiled sadly. Then I finally rest. This ends when the truth comes out and everyone responsible faces consequences. Real consequences. Tristan lowered his gun slightly. You're talking about going public. Making this a national scandal. Yes. That'll destroy 11 families. Violet included. I know. Julian looked at me. That's why it has to be her choice. She can walk away right now. Keep the money, the name, the life. Or she can burn it all down and finally give my family the justice they deserved. I looked at the photograph still in my hands. The little girl. The little boy. I thought about my father's letter. Run. Hide. Survive. I thought about Emma Cross dying in a rigged car accident. I thought about 2 children burning in a foster home. And I made my decision. I'll help you, I said. I'll give you everything. Julian nodded slowly. Then we start tonight. Because the senator knows I'm closing in. And she's already making moves to eliminate loose ends. What kind of moves? Tristan asked. Julian looked at him. The kind that means if we don't act fast, we're all dead by morning. Julian moved to the window and looked outside. We have maybe 20 minutes before they get here. Who's they? I asked. The senator's cleanup crew. Private contractors. Former special ops like me. Except they work for money, not justice. Tristan checked his phone. I'm not reading any movement on the perimeter. You won't. They're professionals. Julian turned back to us. Pack everything. All the files, the USB drives, anything your father kept. We need to move now. I rushed to the desk and started grabbing documents. My hands were shaking so badly, I kept dropping papers. Why would the senator come after me? I asked. I'm nobody. I didn't even know about any of this until today. Because you have proof, Julian said. Your father was paranoid. He kept insurance files in case the others turned on him. The senator knows that. She's been waiting for him to die so she could erase the evidence. But now you have it. Tristan helped me pack everything into a leather briefcase. Where do we go? I have a safe location. Off-grid. No digital footprint. Julian pulled out a burner phone and checked something. His face darkened. We're out of time. They just cut your security system remotely. What? I looked at my phone. No signal. How is that possible? Money and connections. Julian headed for the door. Stay close to me. Stay quiet. If shooting starts, hit the ground. We moved into the hallway. The house felt different in the darkness. Like it wasn't mine anymore. Like it had never really been mine. We were halfway to the back door when Julian stopped. He held up his fist. I heard it. Car engines. Multiple vehicles pulling up outside. No headlights. Back stairs, Julian whispered. Now. We ran. Tristan was behind me, Julian in front. My heart felt like it was going to explode. Behind us, I heard glass breaking. They were coming in through the windows. We reached the back staircase that led to the servants' quarters. Julian moved like a shadow, completely silent. I tried to copy him, but my shoes kept scraping the floor. Take them off, Tristan whispered. I kicked off my heels and kept moving. We made it to the ground floor. The back door was just ahead. Freedom was 30 feet away. Then the lights came on. We froze. A woman stood blocking the exit. 50s. Blonde hair pulled back. Expensive suit. She had a gun in her hand, pointed at Julian. Hello, Sergeant Cross, she said. It's been a long time. Julian's voice was ice. Senator Holloway. She smiled. I prefer Margaret. We're old friends, after all. Friends don't murder families. No, but survivors do what's necessary. She looked at me. Miss Ashford, I'm sorry about your father. He was a good man. Rage flooded through me. He was a monster. He was practical, just like me. Just like all of us who built something real while idealists like Julian here tried to tear it down with their precious morals. You killed children, I said. Margaret shrugged. Collateral damage. It sounds harsh, but that's how the world works. People like your father and me make the hard choices so people like you can live comfortable lives. You should be grateful. Grateful. I wanted to scream. You're insane. I'm realistic. She looked at Julian. You've caused me a lot of trouble, Sergeant. 10 families destroyed. Billions in damages. Media attention. It's been exhausting cleaning up your mess. Good, Julian said. I wanted you to feel something. Oh, I feel something. Annoyance mostly. Margaret cocked her gun. But tonight, this ends. You die here. Miss Ashford dies in a tragic home invasion. And the Navy SEAL who tried to save her also dies heroically. Everyone's happy. Except us, Tristan said. Well, obviously. Julian shifted his weight slightly. I recognized it. He was getting ready to move. Margaret saw it too. Don't. I have 6 men in this house. You might get to me, but they'll kill the girl. So we're at a standstill, Julian said. Not quite. Margaret pulled out her phone with her free hand. I'm going to make you an offer, Sergeant. Walk away. Disappear again. I'll let Miss Ashford live. She keeps her father's fortune, signs a few NDAs, and we all move on. And if I refuse, then everyone dies, including her. Julian looked at me. For the first time, I saw hesitation in his eyes. Don't, I said. Don't let her win. She's smarter than her father, Margaret said. That's unfortunate for her. Tristan raised his gun, but 3 red laser dots appeared on his chest. Snipers. Hidden somewhere in the house. We were trapped. Margaret smiled. So what's it going to be, Sergeant? Justice or mercy? You can't have both. Julian stared at her for a long moment. Then he did something I didn't expect. He started laughing. What's funny? Margaret asked. You think I came here without a plan? Julian pulled out his phone. Everything that happened tonight has been live streaming to 5 different news organizations. Every word you just said, every confession, it's already out there. Margaret's face went white. You're bluffing. Check your phone. Check the trending topics. She did, and I saw her expression change from confidence to horror. You just destroyed yourself, Julian said. And you did it on camera. Margaret's hand trembled. The gun wavered for just a second. That's all Julian needed. He moved faster than I thought possible. One moment he was standing still. The next he had Margaret's wrist twisted, the gun clattering to the floor. The red laser dots on Tristan's chest disappeared as the snipers repositioned. Run! Julian shouted. Tristan grabbed my hand, and we bolted toward the kitchen. Behind us, I heard shouting, gunfire, chaos. We crashed through the kitchen door. Tristan pulled me toward the pantry, threw it open, and shoved me inside. There's a passage, he said. Your father had escape routes built into this house. I found the blueprints. How did you later? Go. He pushed aside shelves to reveal a narrow door. We squeezed through into darkness. A tunnel. Old stone. Damp air. We ran blind. Hands on the walls. Feet stumbling on uneven ground. Behind us, I heard the pantry door burst open. Footsteps. Flashlights. The tunnel ended at a metal ladder. Tristan climbed first, pushed open a hatch, then pulled me up. We emerged in the old garage behind the estate. 3 cars sat covered in dust sheets. Keys, Tristan said. I ran to the key box on the wall, grabbed a set at random. We pulled the sheet off a black sedan and jumped inside. The engine roared to life. Tristan drove, smashing through the garage door into the night. Where's Julian? I asked. He can take care of himself. We sped down the driveway. In the rearview mirror, I saw the mansion. Lights everywhere. Figures moving. Then we were on the main road, racing into darkness. My phone suddenly buzzed. Signal was back. A text from an unknown number. North Harbor. Pier 17. 1 hour. Come alone or she dies. Below the message was a photo. My heart stopped. It was Marie, our housekeeper, tied to a chair, duct tape over her mouth, terror in her eyes. Stop the car, I said. What? Stop the car. Tristan pulled over. I showed him the message. His face went dark. It's a trap. I don't care. She's innocent. She has nothing to do with this. They're using her to get to you. I know, but I can't let her die because of me. I looked at him. You said I had a choice. Be like my father or be different. This is me being different. Tristan stared at me for a long moment. Then he turned the car around. We're going together, he said. And we're going smart. 40 minutes later, we parked 3 blocks from North Harbor. The area was industrial. Empty at night. Perfect for something bad. Tristan checked his gun. I'll position myself with a sight line. You go to the pier. If anything feels wrong, hit the ground. Okay. He looked at me. Violet. If this goes bad, it won't. If it does, you run. You get the evidence to the media. You finish what Julian started. I nodded. not trusting my voice. We split up. I walked toward the pier alone, my footsteps echoing on the wooden planks. The water was black and still. Fog rolled in from the ocean. Pier 17 was at the end. A single light hung overhead, swaying in the wind. Marie was there, still tied to the chair, still alive. But she wasn't alone. A man stepped out of the shadows, and my entire world shattered. It was Blake. Blake Morrison, my father's attorney, the man who'd handled the estate, the man who'd been at our house a dozen times over the past week, the man I trusted. "Hello, Violet," he said calmly. I couldn't speak, couldn't move. "Surprised?" He smiled. "I thought you might be." "You're working for the senator," I whispered. "Working for?" "No." He laughed. "I'm the one who's been running this entire operation for 20 years. Margaret is just the public face. I'm the one who arranged everything. The cover-up, the payments, the accidents." My mind reeled. "But you're my father's lawyer." I was all 11 families' lawyer. That's how I coordinated everything. Your father and the others thought they were in control, but they were just pawns. I built this empire. I protected it. And when Julian Cross became a problem, I'm the one who gave the order to eliminate his family. Rage burned through my shock. "You killed his children." I eliminated a threat. Blake's voice was casual, like he was discussing the weather. And I've been eliminating threats ever since. Including, unfortunately, your father. Everything stopped. "What did you say?" "Your father was getting sloppy. Keeping records. Writing confessions. He was a liability. So I made sure he had a heart attack in his sleep. Painless. Quick. You should thank me. You murdered him. I protected the operation. There's a difference." He gestured to Marie. "Now, you're going to give me every file, every USB drive, every piece of evidence your father kept. Or your housekeeper dies. Then you die. Then anyone else who knows about this dies." The live stream, already handled. My people scrubbed it before it could spread. The news organizations received very generous donations to forget what they saw. He smiled. "Money fixes everything, Violet. Your father taught me that." A gunshot cracked through the night. Blake jerked backward, blood blooming on his shoulder. Tristan emerged from behind a shipping container, gun raised. Blake pulled his own weapon and fired back. Tristan dove for cover. I ran to Marie, working frantically at the ropes around her wrists. More gunshots. Shouting. Chaos. The ropes came loose. I ripped the tape off Marie's mouth. "Run," I told her. She didn't need to be told twice. I turned to help Tristan, but someone grabbed me from behind. Strong arms. A hand over my mouth. Julian's voice in my ear. "Don't scream. I've got you." He pulled me behind cover as bullets tore through the air where I'd been standing. Blake was wounded but still fighting. Tristan was pinned down. Julian handed me something. A phone. "Film everything," he said. "The real live stream starts now." Then he stepped out into the open, hands raised. "Blake Morrison," he shouted. "Let's talk about what you did to my family." Blake lowered his gun slightly, staring at Julian like he was seeing a ghost. "Julian Cross. The man who doesn't exist. I exist enough to hunt down everyone who destroyed my life." Julian's voice was steady, calm. "You gave the order. You killed Emma. You killed my children. I did what was necessary." Blake pressed his hand against his bleeding shoulder. "You were going to expose a multi-billion-dollar operation. Did you really think there wouldn't be consequences? My kids were 6 and 4 years old. Collateral damage." Julian took a step forward. "Say that again." Blake smiled through his pain. "They were collateral damage. Just like you'll be. Just like everyone who gets in the way of progress." I held up the phone, filming everything. My hands shook, but I kept the camera steady. Tristan moved from cover, flanking Blake from the side. His gun never wavered. "It's over, Morrison," Tristan said. "Put the weapon down." "Over." Blake laughed. "You have no idea how deep this goes. I have judges, politicians, police chiefs on my payroll. You think one video will bring me down? I'll be out on bail by morning." "Maybe," Julian said. "But your reputation will be destroyed. Your clients will abandon you. Everything you built will crumble. Then I'll rebuild. I always do. Blake raised his gun toward Julian. But first, I'm finishing what I started 20 years ago. Time seemed to slow down. I saw Blake's finger tighten on the trigger. I saw Julian standing there, not moving, not afraid. I saw Tristan aiming, but he was too far away. And I saw something else. A red dot appeared on Blake's forehead. A sniper. But not Blake's people. Julian smiled. I told you. I don't come anywhere without a plan. The gunshot was almost silent. Blake dropped like a puppet with cut strings. I stood there, frozen, the phone still recording. Julian walked over to Blake's body and knelt down. He checked for a pulse, found none, then stood back up. It's done, he said quietly. Tristan lowered his gun. Who was the sniper? Someone who owed me a favor. Former Delta. Good man. Julian looked at me. Stop recording. I did. My whole body was shaking. Send that video to every contact in your father's phone, Julian said. News organizations, lawyers, politicians, everyone. Make sure it can't be buried. I nodded and started forwarding the file. My fingers fumbled on the screen, but I got it done. Within minutes, my phone started buzzing. Calls. Messages. The video was spreading. Tristan was on his phone too. FBI is already responding. They're sending teams to arrest Senator Holloway and anyone else connected. Julian looked out at the water. 20 years. It took 20 years to get here. I walked over to him. What happens now? To you? I disappear. Again. The FBI will want to arrest me for the murders, but they'll never find me. He looked at me. What about you? I don't know. I thought about my father's mansion. His money. His legacy. Everything I have is built on blood. So what are you going to do about it? I thought about Emma Cross. About 2 children who never got to grow up. About all the families destroyed by my father's greed. I'm going to make it right, I said. However I can. Julian nodded. Your father left you a choice in his letter. Run or stay. You chose to stay. That takes courage. It doesn't feel like courage. It feels like I'm drowning. That's what doing the right thing feels like sometimes. He pulled out a piece of paper and handed it to me. This is a bank account number. It has the addresses of every family my wife and I knew. The families of the soldiers who were destroyed. The families of the civilians who died in that operation overseas. Your father's offshore account has $42 million. Use it to help them. I took the paper. Will that be enough? To make up for what happened? Nothing will ever be enough. But it's a start. Police sirens wailed in the distance. Getting closer. We need to go, Tristan said. Julian looked at me one last time. You're not your father, Violet. Remember that. You get to choose who you become. Then he walked away, disappearing into the fog like he'd never been there at all. Tristan touched my arm. We really need to leave before the police arrive, and this gets complicated. We ran back to the car. As we drove away, I looked back at the pier. Red and blue lights were flooding the area. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. The video was everywhere. News alerts. Breaking stories. Senator Holloway arrested. Federal investigation launched. 11 families under scrutiny. Everything was falling apart. Everything my father built was burning. And I had lit the match. Tristan drove us to a small motel outside the city. We paid cash for a room. No names. No records. Inside, I finally let myself fall apart. I sat on the floor and cried until there was nothing left. Tristan sat beside me, silent. When I could finally speak, I asked the question that had been haunting me. Was any of it real? My whole life. My childhood. Did my father ever actually love me? I don't know, Tristan said honestly. Maybe, in his own way. But he loved his empire more. I looked at him. Why did you help me? Really? He was quiet for a moment. Because my father tried to do the right thing and got punished for it. I watched him lose his career, his reputation, everything. I was 15. I swore that if I ever got the chance to expose what happened, I would. You gave me that chance. So you used me? No. I gave you a choice. Just like Julian did. He met my eyes. You could have run. You could have taken the money and disappeared. But you didn't. That was all you. I thought about the bank account number Julian gave me. $42 million. Blood money. I'm going to give it all away, I said. Every penny. To the families. To charities. To anyone who was hurt by what my father did. That'll leave you with nothing. Good. I don't want anything that came from this. Tristan smiled slightly. Then what will you do? I looked out the window at the neon motel sign flickering in the darkness. I'll start over. Build something new. Something clean. I looked back at him. What about you? I testify. Help the FBI build their case. Make sure everyone responsible goes to prison. And after that, he shrugged. I haven't thought that far ahead. We sat in silence for a while. Outside, the world was changing. The truth was spreading. Justice was finally coming. But inside that small motel room, I felt something I hadn't felt in days. Peace. Not happiness. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But peace. The weight of my father's sins was still there. It always would be. But now, at least, I was carrying it toward something better. 3 days later, I sat in a FBI conference room surrounded by agents, lawyers, and prosecutors. They'd been asking questions for hours. The video from the pier had done its job. Senator Holloway was in federal custody. Her assets frozen. Investigators were tearing apart 20 years of financial records, uncovering a web of corruption that reached into every level of government. The other 10 families were facing criminal charges. Conspiracy, murder, racketeering. Their empires were collapsing one by one. And I was at the center of it all. Miss Ashford, we need you to verify these documents, Agent Harris said, sliding another folder across the table. I'd been verifying documents for 3 days straight. Bank statements, emails, recorded phone calls. Every piece of evidence my father had hidden away. It was exhausting, but necessary. That's my father's signature, I confirmed. Agent Harris made a note. And you had no knowledge of these transactions before his death? None. I didn't even know the offshore accounts existed. What about Tristan Cole? When did he first contact you? I paused. The night my father died. He showed up at my house. And you let him in? A stranger? He said he was Navy. He had information about my father. I trailed off. I made a mistake, but it led to the truth. Agent Harris exchanged a glance with her partner. Something in that look made my stomach tighten. What? I asked. Miss Ashford, we need to ask you about Commander Cole's background. What about it? Agent Harris opened another folder. Tristan Cole is a Navy SEAL. That part is true, but there are some details about his assignment that don't add up. My chest felt tight. What do you mean? He wasn't sent to investigate Julian Cross. In fact, there is no official investigation into Julian Cross. The military still lists him as Kia from 2005. That's impossible. Tristan told me. We know what he told you. But according to Navy records, Commander Cole has been on personal leave for the past 8 months. No assignment. No orders. He was acting alone. The room tilted. Why would he lie? Agent Harris slid a photograph across the table. It showed a young boy, maybe 8 years old, standing next to a man in military uniform. Do you recognize these people? She asked. I studied the photo. The man looked familiar, but I couldn't place him. The boy had dark hair and serious eyes. No. Should I? The man is Staff Sergeant Robert Cole, Tristan's father. He was part of the investigation unit in 2003, just like Tristan told you. Okay. The boy is Julian Cross's son. His name was Nathan. He was 4 years old when he was placed in foster care. The records say he died in a fire. My blood went cold. What are you saying? Agent Harris pointed to another photo. A school picture. The same boy, older. Maybe 12. Nathan Cross didn't die in that fire. Another child did. Nathan was smuggled out by someone with access to the foster system. Someone who knew what was really happening. She slid another photo across. Robert Cole and a young boy, much older now, at a Little League game. Robert Cole adopted Nathan Cross under a new identity, raised him as his own son, changed his name to Tristan Cole. The room spun. Tristan is Julian's son? I whispered. Yes. He's been looking for his father for 15 years. And when he found evidence that Julian was still alive and hunting the people responsible, He used his Navy credentials to insert himself into the situation. I couldn't breathe. He lied to me. This whole time. He protected you. Agent Harris corrected. He could have let Julian kill you. Instead, he helped expose the truth. Where is he now? We don't know. He left the motel 2 days ago and hasn't been seen since. I stood up, my chair scraping loudly. I need air. Miss Ashford, I need air. They let me go. I walked out into the hallway, my mind racing. Tristan was Julian's son, the boy who supposedly died, the 4-year-old who lost everything. He'd been there that whole time, watching me, helping me, and he never said a word. I pulled out my phone and called his number. It went straight to voicemail. Tristan, I know. The FBI told me everything. Please call me back. Please. I hung up and leaned against the wall. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I'm sorry I lied, but I needed to see if you were different from your father. You are. That's why I helped you. There's something you need to know. Meet me at the address below. Come alone. This is important. An address followed. A warehouse district on the south side. Every rational part of my brain said it was a trap. Don't go. Tell the FBI. But I thought about Tristan. About the little boy in the photo who lost his mother and father. Who grew up knowing his real family was murdered by rich people who never faced consequences. I grabbed my jacket and walked out of the FBI building. 40 minutes later, I pulled up to the warehouse. It looked abandoned. Windows broken. Graffiti on the walls. I got out of the car and walked to the entrance. The door was unlocked. Inside was dark except for a single light in the center of the space. Tristan stood under it, waiting. But he wasn't alone. Julian stood beside him. Father and son. Together. I stopped walking, my heart pounding. Hello, Violet, Julian said. We need to talk about what happens next. Tristan's face was unreadable. I'm sorry I lied. But you need to understand the full truth before this ends. The full truth about what? Julian stepped forward. About why your father really kept all those records. About what he was planning before he died. And about the one person we haven't exposed yet. Blake is dead. The senator is in custody. Who else is there? Tristan and Julian exchanged a look. Your mother, Tristan said quietly. I felt like I'd been punched. My mother died when I was 3. Cancer. That's what you were told, Julian said. But your mother didn't die. She disappeared. Because she was the one who started all of this. The floor seemed to dissolve beneath my feet. That's impossible. Your mother's name was Elena Ashford. Before she married your father, she was Elena Morrison. Morrison. Blake's last name. Blake Morrison was her brother. Julian continued. They built the operation together. Your father was just the money. Your mother was the architect. No, that's a lie. Tristan pulled out a folder and handed it to me. It's all here. Documents. Photos. Everything. With shaking hands, I opened it and saw my mother's face staring back at me from classified military documents. I stared at the documents, my vision blurring with tears. My mother. Beautiful, smiling Elena Ashford in the photos I'd seen growing up. The woman who died too young. The woman my father never talked about. Except she hadn't died. She faked her death in 1998, Julian said. Staged for cancer diagnosis that was completely fabricated. Closed casket funeral. You were 3 years old. Too young to remember details. Why? My voice cracked. Why would she leave me? Because the operation was getting too hot. Investigations were starting. She needed to disappear, become someone else, and run everything from the shadows. Tristan's voice was gentle but firm. Your father kept you, raised you, but she was always there, pulling strings through Blake. I flipped through the pages. Financial transfers, coded emails, photographs of a woman who looked like my mother but older, different hair, different name. Catherine Reynolds, CEO of a private security firm. She's been operating under that identity for 27 years, Julian said, building an empire of her own. When I started hunting the families, she stayed hidden. Let everyone else take the fall, including her own brother. I whispered. Blake was expendable. You weren't. She's been watching you your whole life, Violet. making sure you stayed innocent, stayed clean. So when everything collapsed, you'd survive. I looked up at them. Where is she now? Tristan hesitated. That's why we brought you here. She wants to meet you. She's been trying to contact you through back channels, but the FBI is monitoring everything. This is the only way. She's here. I looked around the empty warehouse. Now, in the back office, waiting. Julian's expression was hard. She wants to explain herself, make you understand, maybe try to convince you to disappear with her. My hands clenched into fists. And you brought me here to what? Watch me reunite with my criminal mother. No, Tristan said. We brought you here to give you a choice. The same choice we've given you all along. You can walk away. Let the FBI handle it. Never know the truth about why she did what she did. Or you can talk to her, hear her side, and decide for yourself what justice looks like. I looked between them, father and son, both destroyed by my family's greed. Why does it matter what I decide? Julian's voice was quiet. Because she's still your mother. And despite everything, she does love you. In her own broken way. Love. I laughed bitterly. She abandoned me. She let children die. She built an empire on murder. Yes, she did. Julian stepped closer. But she also made sure you were protected. Made sure you got the evidence. Your father didn't keep those records because he was paranoid. She made him keep them. Insurance policy. So if everything fell apart, you'd have the truth and the means to survive. That doesn't make her a good person. No, it doesn't. But it makes her human. Complicated. Just like your father. Just like all of us. Tristan touched my arm. Whatever you decide, we'll support it. But you should know, the FBI is 20 minutes behind you. They tracked your phone. Once they get here, she'll either run or get arrested. This is your only chance to talk to her. I stood there, frozen. My mother. Alive. Here. The woman who gave birth to me and then chose money and power over being my mom. What do you want me to say to her? I asked. Whatever you need to say, Julian answered. For yourself. Not for her. Not for us. For you. I took a deep breath and walked toward the back office. The door was slightly open. Light spilled out. I pushed it open. A woman sat at an old desk. Mid-50s. Different hair, different style, but I knew her face immediately. My mother looked up. Her eyes filled with tears. Violet. My baby girl. You're so beautiful. I couldn't speak. Couldn't move. She stood up slowly, like she was afraid I'd run. I know you hate me. You have every right to. But please, let me explain. Explain? The word came out like poison. You left me. I was 3 years old, and you left me. I had to. They were coming after everyone. If I'd stayed, you would have been in danger. This way, with me dead, you were just an innocent child. Protected. Protected? I grew up without a mother. I know. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Tears streamed down her face. But I watched you grow up. Every school play. Every birthday. I was always there, in the background, making sure you were safe. That's not being a mother. That's being a stalker. She flinched. You're right. But it was the only way. Your father and I built something that couldn't be stopped. We'd already gone too far. The only choice was to see it through or let everyone, including you, go down with us. So you chose yourself. I chose you. Her voice broke. Everything I did, every horrible choice, was to make sure you survived. That when this day came, you'd have the resources and knowledge to rebuild, to be better than us. By giving me blood money, by giving you a choice we never had. We were born into poverty, desperate. We did terrible things to escape that. But you, she stepped closer. You were born into privilege. You can choose to use it for good, to help the people we hurt. That's why I made your father keep the records. Why I made sure you'd inherit everything. So you could make it right. I shook my head. You don't get to make me your redemption story. I'm not asking for redemption. I'm asking for you to understand that parents are just people. Flawed. Broken. Trying to protect their children in the only ways they know how. By killing other people's children? She looked down. Yes, that's the truth. I made choices I can never take back. Choices that haunt me every single day. But I don't regret protecting you. Sirens wailed in the distance. Getting closer. The FBI is coming, I said. You need to run. I'm not running anymore. I'm tired, Violet. I've been running for 27 years. She pulled an envelope from her jacket and handed it to me. This is everything. Account numbers, names, locations. Everyone's still involved in the operation. Give it to the FBI. Let them finish this. I took the envelope, stunned. You're turning yourself in? I'm setting you free. You shouldn't have to carry our sins anymore. She smiled sadly. You're stronger than I ever was. Braver. You chose truth over comfort. That's something I could never do. The sirens were right outside now. She walked toward me and stopped. May I hug you? Just once. Every part of me wanted to say no, to push her away. But she was my mother. And despite everything, despite all the evil she'd done, part of me still loved her. I nodded. She wrapped her arms around me and held me tight, crying into my hair. I love you, Violet. I always have. I always will. Then she let go and walked toward the door. The FBI burst in, guns drawn, shouting commands. My mother put her hands up calmly. Catherine Reynolds, you're under arrest. They cuffed her and led her away. She looked back at me one last time, mouthing the words, I'm sorry. Then she was gone. I stood alone in the office, the envelope in my hands, tears streaming down my face. Tristan appeared in the doorway. You okay? No, but I will be. 6 months later, I stood outside the federal courthouse in Washington, D.C. Media crews lined the streets. Cameras everywhere. Reporters shouting questions. Today was the final day of testimony in what the news was calling the Ashford conspiracy trial. 11 families. Dozens of defendants. Years of corruption exposed. And I was the star witness. Agent Harris met me at the security entrance. Ready? As ready as I'll ever be. We walked through the metal detectors and down the marble hallway. My footsteps echoed in the massive building. The last 6 months had been brutal. Depositions, interviews, threats from people who wanted me silenced. I'd been living in protective custody, moving between safe houses, never staying anywhere longer than a few weeks. But today was the end. The final testimony. After this, the jury would decide. The courtroom was packed. I saw faces I recognized. Children of the other 10 families, here to watch their parents face justice. Reporters in the back rows. Victims' family members in the front. And there, in the defendants section, sat Senator Margaret Holloway. 10 other wealthy elites. And my mother, Catherine Reynolds, formerly Elena Ashford. She looked older, thinner. Prison had aged her. Our eyes met for a brief second. She gave me the smallest nod. I looked away. The judge entered. Everyone stood. Please be seated. We'll now hear final testimony from Miss Violet Ashford. I walked to the witness stand, placed my hand on the Bible, swore to tell the truth. The prosecutor, a sharp woman named Diana Chun, approached. Miss Ashford, thank you for being here today. I know this hasn't been easy. No, it hasn't. Can you tell the jury, in your own words, what you discovered about your father's business dealings? I took a deep breath. I discovered that my father, along with 10 other investors, funded a private military contractor in 2002. When that contractor committed war crimes overseas, my father and the others paid to cover it up. They bribed officials, destroyed evidence. And when soldiers tried to expose the truth, they destroyed those soldiers' lives. How did they destroy those lives? They had them dishonorably discharged, imprisoned on false charges. And in the case of Staff Sergeant Julian Cross, they murdered his wife and children to silence him. Murmurs rippled through the courtroom. And how did you learn this information? My father kept detailed records, videos of meetings, financial statements, phone recordings. He documented everything, either as insurance or out of guilt. I found it all after he died. Why did you come forward with this evidence? I looked at the jury. 12 ordinary people holding extraordinary power. Because children died. Innocent people died. And the people responsible lived in mansions and went to galas and never faced consequences. That's not justice. That's not the world I want to live in. Diana nodded. Your mother, Catherine Reynolds, is among the defendants. How does that make you feel? Heartbroken, angry, betrayed. My voice cracked, but also clear about what's right. She's my mother, and part of me will always love her. But love doesn't excuse evil. She made choices. Now she has to face the consequences. Thank you, Miss Ashford. The defense attorney stood. A man in an expensive suit with cold eyes. Miss Ashford, isn't it true that you stand to benefit financially from this trial? That you've already received book deals and movie rights? I've received offers. I've turned them all down. Why? Because this isn't entertainment. These are real people who suffered real trauma. I'm not going to profit from that. What about your father's estate? You inherited millions. I've given it all away. Every dollar. To victims' families. To veterans' organizations. To charities supporting foster children. He looked surprised. All of it. All of it. I didn't want anything built on blood money. So you have nothing now? I have a clear conscience. That's worth more than money. The defense attorney had no response to that. He sat down. The judge looked at me. Miss Ashford, do you have anything else you'd like to say? I looked at my mother one last time. Yes, Your Honor. I want the families of the victims to know that I'm sorry. I'm sorry for what my parents did. I'm sorry you lost people you loved. I can't bring them back. I can't undo the past. But I can promise that I'll spend the rest of my life trying to help people hurt by corruption and greed. That's the only way I know to make something good come from something so terrible. The courtroom was silent. Thank you, Miss Ashford. You're excused. I stepped down and walked out of the courtroom. Outside, Tristan was waiting. He'd testified last week about his father's role in trying to expose the conspiracy and about growing up as Nathan Cross. How'd it go? He asked. It's done. Now we wait. We walked down the courthouse steps together. Reporters shouted questions, but we ignored them. What happens after the verdict? Tristan asked. I don't know. I've been so focused on getting here, I haven't thought about what comes next. You could start over. New name. New city. Leave all this behind. I shook my head. No. I'm done running from the truth. This is who I am. Daughter of criminals. But also someone who chose differently. I need to own both. He smiled slightly. That's brave. Or stupid. Maybe both. We reached the street. I turned to him. What about you? What's next for Tristan Cole/Nathan Cross? I'm going back to the Navy. They offered me my position back after my testimony. Turns out exposing massive corruption makes you look good. Will you look for your father? Julian. He doesn't want to be found. He sent me a letter last month. Said he's finally at peace. That seeing justice done was enough. Do you believe him? I hope so. He deserves peace after everything he lost. We stood in silence for a moment. Thank you, I said, for helping me, for believing I could be different from my parents. You proved that all on your own. 3 weeks later, the verdicts came in. Guilty. All 11 defendants. Multiple counts of conspiracy, murder, racketeering, and obstruction of justice. My mother got 25 years. Senator Holloway got life without parole. The others got sentences ranging from 15 to 40 years. It was over. Finally, completely over. 2 years later, I stood in front of a small memorial garden in North Carolina. It was peaceful here. Trees swaying in the breeze. Birds singing. A fountain trickling quietly in the center. The memorial had 11 names carved into black stone. Emma Cross, Nathan Cross, Sarah Cross, and 8 others. The civilians who died in that operation overseas in 2002. The people whose deaths started everything. I'd built this place with the last of my father's money. A quiet space for remembering. For healing. I placed fresh flowers at the base of the stone and stepped back. I come here every month, I said quietly, to remind myself why I made the choices I did. I wasn't alone. A man stood beside me. Different clothes. Different haircut. But the same eyes. Julian Cross. Or whoever he was now. It's beautiful, he said. Thank you for doing this. It's the least I could do. We stood in silence, looking at the names. My daughter loved butterflies, Julian said softly. She'd chased them around the yard for hours. My son wanted to be an astronaut. He had glow-in-the-dark stars all over his bedroom ceiling. Tears burned my eyes. I'm so sorry for what my family took from you. I know. And I forgive you. He looked at me. You're not them, Violet. You prove that. Sometimes I wonder if it's enough. If anything I do will ever balance the scales. It won't. Nothing ever will. But that's not the point. He touched the stone gently. The point is you chose to try. That's what separates you from them. Where will you go now? Somewhere quiet. Away from all this. Maybe I'll find peace. Maybe I won't. But at least the people responsible are behind bars. He smiled sadly. That's more than I thought I'd ever get. Will I see you again? Probably not. But I'll be watching, making sure you're safe. He started to walk away, then stopped. Live a good life, Violet. Not for me. Not for them. For you. You've earned that. Then he was gone, disappearing into the trees like a ghost. I stood alone at the memorial for a long time. My phone buzzed. A text from Tristan. He was deployed overseas, but messaged when he could. Thinking about you today. Hope you're doing okay. I smiled and texted back. I'm okay. Getting better every day. Another message came through. From a journalist named Rachel who'd been covering the trial. Hi, Violet. Working on a piece about families affected by corporate corruption. Would love to talk if you're willing. No pressure. I thought about it for a moment, then replied. Yes, I'll talk. People need to hear these stories. Because that's what I decided to do with my life. Tell stories. Expose corruption. Help families destroyed by greed and power. I'd started a foundation with help from victims' families. We provided legal support, counseling, and financial assistance to people hurt by corporate crimes. It wasn't glamorous. I lived in a small apartment, worked long hours, made barely enough to survive. But I slept well at night, and that was worth more than any mansion. I took one last look at the memorial, then walked back to my car. As I drove away, I thought about everything that had happened. The betrayal, the pain, the choice to stand up instead of running away. I thought about my father and mother, sitting in prison cells, paying for their crimes. I thought about Julian, finally free after 20 years of hunting. And I thought about myself. Violet Ashford, daughter of criminals, whistleblower, survivor, not perfect, not redeemed, but trying to be better every single day. That was all anyone could do. The radio played softly as I drove. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. It was beautiful, and for the first time in 2 years, I felt something I thought I'd lost forever. Hope. As I pulled into my apartment parking lot, I opened my phone and recorded a quick message. Hey everyone. Thank you so much for listening to this story.